Everyone, and welcome back. And I'm with Supervisor Richard Forster. We're going through the pre-agenda supervisors report for tomorrow, actually for their meeting. Go ahead, Richard.
Just on that last item, the hazardous materials emergency response, this has to be done periodically, it has to be updated. So the plan was circulated throughout the departments. They were allowed to comment on it, and it's incorporated as Annex B of the county's emergency operations plan and provides the framework for local and outside agencies for responding to hazardous materials situations.
So that must get coordinated with the Sheriff's Department as well, because of being the emergency
it was circulated throughout any emergency responder. Those include sheriff, they include ambulance, they include fire. So any of those emergency responders are going to have to go into those scenes. They need to know where those they need Coupa plans.
Need to know what they're getting into and what's around.
They need a Coupa plan for where the emergency is, so they can basically see it is a roadmap for where the hazardous materials are within that facility. So if you have 20 gas tanks, acetylene welding tanks sitting over here, and the fire is close to that location, you need to know when you walk in that that's a possible danger spot for people being injured or killed.
Well, that's interesting too, and with today and the way that we can keep information on where things are with the computers and stuff, that's really handy to have.
This next item is really a shocking item on PERS rates and what PERS is going to charge to the counties. We already knew that PERS was, because they've estimated a 7.5% earnings rate. Well, they haven't been coming close to 7.5%. So last year they finally figured that out and said, we're going to start charging you over 5 years, we're going to do a smoothing. So the smoothing is actually going to increase the rates significantly over 5 years.
Are they asking to go up because are they still anticipating the same high rate, or did they lower their expectation there?
They're anticipating the same low rates along with the low rates that they haven't recovered.
So they've adjusted, though, that
that's right.
That
so
erroneous rate that they thought they would get.
Right. They thought they were going to get that 7.5%. They didn't. I almost have to read this word for word. I'm going to try not to, but as our CIO puts it, the big changes are the implementation of the 5-year smoothing period, as I said, and a fixed 30-year recovery period for gains and losses. The old PERS rule would take a rolling 30-year period to recover any gains or losses, recalculating every year, with all gains or losses from the past taken into account to determine the new rate. So it was a good way of doing it.
You know, that they've got quite a contract where if the economy goes south a little bit, they still have to get the same amount of money back. That's
but the new rate looks at it in a 15-year period, not a 30-year period. So in order to recover that money, they have to have that 5-year smoothing period, which smoothing actually means we're going to be paying more rates. Actually means the county's going to be paying more, but the employees are going to be paying significantly more. So the rate adjustment will be implemented over a 5-year period. So, for example, if losses are experienced in 1 year that would require a 2.5% rate increase over a 30-year in order to recover, then the contribution rate will be 0.5% each year for 5 years until the full 2.5% is realized. So they're compensating to try and get those the returns back, the money back that they estimated you were going to get that you didn't get. Same effect will hold true for anything in excess of that 7.5% annually. So our CIO has created a spreadsheet. As he shows in the spreadsheet, he goes all the way from 2013-14 to 2018-19, anticipating that 5 years.
All right.
The county will have to come up, and the employees will have to come up shared with an additional $1.5 million in the next 5 years to pay for those rates. One thing that's problematic here is the people that have already retired, you'll never recover from them because you weren't paying as high a percentage as what they're paying on PERS now. So the employees have been through negotiations. The employees have been accepting more of their responsibility for paying their own costs on PERS. In the past, employees, basically the county was paying all of the employees' percentage. You'll never recover that, so you'll be paying for that for the life of that employee.
What will the discussion be about tomorrow
It's
about
just-
this? Just to let people know how this is working? Is
Well,
that it?
And it's a realization for the board that, look, this is what it's going to cost over the next 5 years going forward. It's going to cost a lot more PERS rates, and that's going to affect us. It's going to affect the employees. That's going to affect how we budget in the future.
Simply, it sort of looks like doing the math roughly that $200,000 a year that will be coming out of the budget.
$1.5 million
Something in there that area.
at the end of the 5 years, $1.5 million, but it'll ramp up from 4.6 to 4.9 to 5.3 to 5.5 to 5.8 to 6.2 over 5 years. So $1.5 million more. As our CAO said, the largest of the costs come from obligations for retirement tiers that are no longer offered. So we have been correcting that, but the economy has allowed us to do that through negotiations because employees and unions realize that the county just can't keep absorbing all of these costs.
I'm not sure if I understand. So is that saying a retired employee raises their retirement benefits go up with that, but they don't no longer contribute? Is that roughly what you were saying?
No, what it means is when those employees were county employees before they retired,
right.
the county was picking up 7 to 7.5% of their cost for
Right.
retirement. The county will always have that obligation to pay that.
Okay.
Employees now are, by the end of,
So the newer contracts, the employees have been paying some of the share.
employees will be paying most of their
Okay.
share by the end of, for instance, one of our law enforcement units is now paying most of their own share, and the county is not picking that up. That used to be a perk working for government. Counties just can't afford to be paying for that now. So this is the Amador County Deputy District Attorneys Association will be paying their complete employee share by the end of this current contract. And the contract is about to reopen for negotiations too. I'll tell you, in all contract negotiations, we have worked with the employees and they're paying for more of their share. We cannot do it. That's what, if you remember, City of San Diego got into problems here. Other cities got in the same problem because they were paying 100% of benefits for employees. I mean, you have to, as an employee, some of your own costs because counties just can't do it. It was bankrupting San Diego, and they finally got out of that situation. They went back and tried to retroactively charge employees for those costs. I don't think they were successful in doing that either.
Okay.
So it's a very huge issue for the county, for every taxpayer in the county to know that one of our state agencies, huge state agency, PERS, who had a crook actually working for him, one on the board of PERS, taking money because he was working with some of the companies that were being hired. And, when things like that happen, you just got to shake your head because who pays for that? Counties pay for it, cities pay for it, employees of our county will pay for it.
Now, so does each county make its own contract?
With the employees.
Okay.
With PERS, they basically send us a letter saying what the rates will be each year. And the rates are going sky high right now, not just because of this, but in general, PERS has to recover because they did such a poor job of managing the resources for so long. Unfortunately, they're the big dog out there, and they should be the best one to invest in. They are not. So,
It would seem the problem is that they have a kind of a guaranteed rate, and when the economy doesn't do as well, they still need to get that rate.
well, that's when you react to. But the other problem is they have not done a good job of oversight within their own agency as to how their managers, how their people on the PERS board are carrying out business.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to. I tried to be
Okay.
nice on that too, but try not to say the word
I
crooks.
know you do. You're
Try not to say the word crooks too many times.
Okay.
Okay. Next discussion will be on Prop 41, and this is for our board to possibly give support to this. This is an initiative on the ballot next time around. Prop 41 will be the Veterans Housing and Homeless Prevention Bond Act of 2014. It will provide, if it's passed, it will provide money out there for veterans to for housing, for purchase of homes, and things like that. Obviously, it's a big need. with the federal government and the Obama administration cutting funds to the Veterans Administration and cutting programs.
Who will administer that?
This will be administered by the state.
Okay.
There are people in the state that still care about veterans and want these things to go through. We have a very strong veterans officer in Terry Sanders here. He gets a lot of benefits for our vets. What he is not able to do is a lot with housing, because his is primarily looking at their benefits that they're due. Housing is a slightly different area. I know we've had Victory Village, that this might be an area where they can access to get funding dollars for housing programs for veterans or for temporary housing for veterans.
All
So
right.
that sounds like, on the surface, it sounds good, so I think our board's going to examine that. The last thing on the agenda is our public hearing for Municipal Code 1530. These are revisions to this code that was looked at by our Public Works Committee, and Aaron Bruce Torrey, our Community Development Director, I feel sorry for him. He had to go through and do all the cutting and pasting, as you
I
see
saw a
here.
lot of red lines through that.
Yeah, a lot of
on
red,
the,
a lot
on
of
the
red
web.
lines and blue lines and strikeouts, but basically it's trying to simplify the state code and apply it more to our county for people that live in high severity areas, moderate fire severity areas, and low fire severity areas. So
Okay.
it's trying to make it applicable to what actually happens out there in our county. So building standards would be significantly higher for those people that live in those high fire severity zones for the 1530 requirements. And that's the road requirements where people have to put in ingress, egress, they have to put in turnouts, they have to have a area big enough for a turnaround of a fire engine, things like that.
I think that's important to a lot of the old building areas, where people are. There's not a lot of that around, and it's kind of scary when you think of a fire or emergency through there.
It is, it really is.
Well, Richard, thanks for coming by,
Okay, Tom.
and go ahead and make it on down to that supervisor meeting tomorrow. And thanks for watching TSPN. We'll see you again next time.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.